Hey!
Wearing the colors.
Never daunted, we shall not falter. In our battle, we're tried and true.
Oh, Indiana! Oh, Indiana! Indiana, we're all for you. Do you like the Mop Lady?
I love the Mop Lady.
It was the best.
It was the best. It told me that it was Saturday afternoon and I could watch some Indiana basketball. We're starting, look.
And the football's over.
Oh, God. Is Indiana the worst Power 5 team in the country?
Not just team, program. Like, the whole thing's crap. But what a good time the first 25 minutes were. Like, if you watch the first 25 minutes and took a big fat nap, woke up in the fourth quarter, you'd be like, huh? What? 52-7. Goodness sake.
I have not seen this where there is any record of this. And I've looked today. Maybe you've seen it. 52 straight points. I'm not saying it's 100% the record, but it's got to be in the damn conversation of the record most consecutive, Ken. Come on.
Against the team that scored first, Julie bet me. Julie was like, I'll bet you Indiana scores first. I said, name your price. I'm in. As sure as hell, 7-0 Hoosiers. And well into the second quarter, and it's 7-7. You think, hey, we got a game.
Yeah. How'd that go?
Not real well.
You know what I've always said about Indiana football, and this is, I know it's the coaches, everybody tells me that, and I'll go, okay. I've always said with the players, once something bad happens, they can never overcome. And I'm going back to the 80s. Yeah. Like, once something happens, that you could just look on that sideline. It happened against, was it Louisville or Cincinnati they almost beat? Cincinnati? Earlier
this year? Yeah. Louisville. They almost tied it at the end.
Yeah, I'm watching that game, and the game's going okay, then there's an interception. And I told my stepdaughter and her boyfriend, and Lee, I go, well, you watch what happens. Yeah. There's going to be a touchdown here. Boom. And then when you lose that game, that's a broader, bigger thing of a bad thing happening. And how's it gone since?
Yeah.
You think it's the worst program? And I'm looking this up because I said it's worst
the losing
team
for sure.
Is it the worst? Like, Duke was always in the conversation. Kansas was always in the conversation.
Vanderbilt a little bit.
Always in the conversation. I'm talking about Power 5. Well, even Wake's 3-3. Syracuse started out 4-0. Big 12. Cincinnati beat Indiana. That's the worst team in that league. Illinois got a win. Michigan State doesn't have a coach. Do they play again this year? That's a chance.
Yeah.
Oh, God bless them.
Yeah.
That'll be the bowl. But they at least have an excuse because their coach is done, right? Pac-12, Arizona State stinks, but they almost beat Colorado. Arkansas is 0-4, 2-5. Vanderbilt's probably a worse overall program.
I'll give you another one where they fell apart, and it was all of a sudden, and I think it was against Ohio State. Micah McFadden gets called for targeting.
That was against Cincinnati when Cincinnati
was
what it was.
Yeah, they were really good. Right.
Yeah.
And McFadden gets run, and the whole thing fell to hell.
Yeah.
Like he was the only thing holding them together. Once he got tossed, it was over.
That's why
Cincinnati.
That's why I've said forever I don't respect Indiana's players. And that's a bad thing to say because they're tough kids that beat the hell out of me. But I just have never respected. I just have never. And I'm going back, and I know it's the coach, and I know, but they were that way when we were in college. Yeah. They were that way, except for a few years with Mallory. They were that way with everybody. And I watch Indiana basketball even to this day. Indiana basketball at Assembly Hall, game's not going good, something bad happens, but then invariably 9 out of 10 times something good happens and it flips the switch and Indiana goes and wins a game.
Yeah.
It's just never that way with football. Once something bad happens, it's over.
Yeah.
It is insanity to me.
And you've mentioned this a couple of times in previous shows that it's a party kind of collective. I lived on a dorm floor when I was a freshman with a few football players. They were the life of the party. They were great dudes. I was like, hey, guess who I'm having a great time with? These football players are awesome. And then the great Chris Pruitt from New Albany lived on the same floor as Tim Wilbur. He's Wilbur's a mess.
Yeah.
You got to meet Wilbur. I was like, Chris, come over and meet these guys. He's like, meet Wilbur. They were all crazy.
Yeah, Wilbur was a big, Thursday night hop guy, and then he'd go out and get 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
Respect, yo. Yeah. I mean, hey, if you can do it, all right.
It's like Max McGee in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he didn't think he was playing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get hung over. I just talked about hangover on my other show. I'm going to get into pitching with a hangover. Verlander said he did it in a sim game. No, Scherzer said he did it in a simulated game. Kent, the Colts.
Yes.
All right, do you have any update? Because we said it on this show. Once that shoulder goes and that AC joint is popped, I told you're going to have surgery, whether it's during or after. I'm not surprised at all that it's starting to come out that Richardson's going to have surgery. You know anything different?
No, I think he's going to have surgery.
Has to.
Yeah, he does have to. Because it's not about this year. It's about down the road. And you don't want this thing to get screwy year after year after year.
No.
And it tends to.
It
Once
absolutely
you get one,
does.
You get more until it gets fixed. So you got to get it fixed.
You cannot, once that thing pops out, that's why you see guys, I know Evans did, I think Neil Reed did, there's I don't know if guys lately have, but there's always guys playing with a shoulder harness in basketball because you're trying to get them through the season. You're trying, because it always pops out, but once you have surgery, it's over. It's done. Your season's over.
Right.
And I'm guessing, aren't you, that's what's going to happen with Richardson?
Yeah. That's what it feels like. And that's what everybody says.
Minshew looked horseshit.
Terrible. First time in his life, he's thrown 3 picks in a game, at least in the NFL. But get this. Here's a nugget. Like a Lee Corso style nugget. When he throws 1 interception or more, when he turns it over once, he is 1 in 10 as a starter, once or more. When he turns it over none, he's 8 and 7. He cannot overcome turnovers, and he's going to get like 8, 9-man fronts. They're going to press cover, and he's going to have a mess.
You called it. As I was watching that game, I'm sitting there going, why aren't they running the ball? And then I looked, and you said this last week, you're going to see 8, 9-man fronts. They're going to dare Pittman or Pierce to beat you, and, Downs, I guess, as well. They did one time what I asked them to do, which is they split out Taylor. And
it worked.
I know. And then they tried it late in something, but they didn't go to him. But I thought, look, the offensive line, good, bad, happy, or sad, it's just hard to block 8 or 9 when there's no deep threat, when there's no Willie Gault, when there's no burner on the outside. You got to have a burner. And Ballard has never felt the need to do that. How is he so comfortable with these wide receivers? I'll never understand it.
I don't get how speed is not your primary kind of category to hire people. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, okay, is he fast? That's the first question I'd ask. Is he fast? All right. Then we can look at all the other stuff. If he's not fast, I don't give a shit what position he plays. No. Give me a fast guy. Edge guys, linebackers, safeties, corners, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. It doesn't matter. I want fast people.
That's why I thought that when Granson, that's why I think I ask you every week about Granson, because I remember talking to Ballard and Granson, and when he got drafted, everybody told me he was fast.
Yeah,
I haven't seen. Maybe he is. Maybe he can run from here to there and back real quick. But you don't see it on the field.
You know who they say is the fastest? Is Mallory.
Then play him.
Like you talk to Mo Ali Cox and say, "What do you think, Will Mallory?" He says, "Man, dude can run. He is fast." Doesn't say, "What do you think of Granson?" He doesn't say he's fast.
Well, I would assume that's why Mallory got drafted. He didn't get drafted because he's Bill Mallory's grandson, I would assume. Maybe with the Colts. Somebody...
Pedigree.
Horseshoe guy. But going back to Minshew, he threw balls that, back in the day, our day, if anybody wants to look up Sonny Kilmer or Sonny Jurgensen and Billy Kilmer, 2 fat guys with one little thing on their helmet, and they always talked about how they threw ducks, wounded ducks, but they always got there.
Yeah.
This dude's throwing ducks. Like, I kept thinking, is every ball tipped? Like, is every freaking ball?
The one was.
Yeah, the one was.
But that's still his fault. Like, okay, he's 6'1", 6'2". He's going to get balls tipped at the line. That's just the way it is. When you have a flawed quarterback with a number of flaws in his game, what happened yesterday is what's going to happen. To think that it's not going to happen is crazy.
There are guys, and this is where I do fault Minshew. There are guys that improve. There are guys that understand, like Drew Brees. You can't tell me Drew Brees didn't, I don't know if he wore lifts in his shoes, something, because he figured out how to get the ball between or over the top or out here. And Minshew yesterday, I'm going to go back to something. Rick Venturi said this, and I don't know if I'm outing him or not, but this is 2 years ago. I don't think Urban was the coach, so this must have been opening day. Did the Colts play opening day 2 years ago in Jacksonville? I think they did, and they got beat. Yeah, because they played that was the last game 2 years ago. Whenever it was, Rick Venturi said after opening day in Jacksonville, he goes, Jacksonville has passed us here in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
And this is before Jacksonville even made the play. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, well, the players are better. They got a new building going up. The whole environment was better. The strength. Urban did a really good thing, even though I know Urban gets crushed. He totally changed the strength and conditioning. He totally changed the food that they were given. He got rid of older guys that had been there and did it their own way and got some more innovative guys. And that's a part of it. And then he started building the building. Well, Venturi said that way back. They have passed us, and I don't think it's ever been more evident than yesterday.
Yeah.
The Colts were lucky to be within 17. They were freaking horrible, and the other team was all right.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. What do you do?
Well, people make fun of Shad Khan a little bit because he's got the fancy mustache and all that stuff, but he's a really smart guy who is a really good owner.
Yeah.
And it's hard for an organization to beat an organization with a really good owner.
Yeah.
Bad owners.
Well, where does Jimmy Irsay in your mind fit with that?
I think he's kind of in the middle of the NFL, and I tend to be more optimistic about him than most. I think he's a smart guy. I think that maybe it's just by chance, but money-wise, he does those auctions, right? He goes out and buys stuff. But that stuff is one-of-a-kind stuff.
Yeah, you like
when
that.
you're one of one, you get to name the price.
Yeah.
You don't have somebody else make your market. He's a smart dude in that way, and I think he's a smart guy as an owner. I think it started to fall apart a little bit for him when he had a problem with the Gophers. I think that wasn't a clean era.
What do you call them?
Gophers.
Oh, the Gophers? They make you goofy?
I guess. They did with him. And things didn't go terribly well. I think that he decided, you know what? I'm tired of Bill Polian in the building. And I think we can win. It's time for us to get really smart and say goodbye to our franchise Hall of Fame, first ballot, statue quarterback. And that was a huge mistake. And from that point, I think this thing just this drifted a little bit.
So you believe that getting rid of Manning for luck was a huge mistake?
Oh, yeah.
Why?
Manning went to 2 more Super Bowls.
I know.
He was really good.
I know.
In 12, 13, and 14, he was really good. He was rag-armed in 15. But I think you're always penalized. Maybe it's karma, but you're always penalized when you display a lack of loyalty that's based on some kind of reality. You can't be, I'd love to see Rick Russell pitch. Rick Russell was a fun guy to watch pitch. Fergie Jenkins, fun guy to watch pitch. Fergie's 80. He ain't going to get anybody out. That's stupid nostalgia. But I don't think it was nostalgia with Manning. And Manning had shown before that he had an ability to overcome adversity multiple times. And I think saying goodbye to him was a mistake.
I think the bigger question, though, is why was Manning in 4 years able to go to 2 Super Bowls where in 14 years he only went to 2 Super Bowls? Everybody tells me.
Really good defense.
Well, everybody tells me all these great players that the Colts had. Great. This guy's great. That guy's great. This guy's great. Did Manning make him great? Was Reggie Wayne great? Was Marvin? I mean, the best thing that ever happened to Peyton Manning was getting cut.
Yeah.
Because then he wasn't going to win another one here. They were coming off 2-14 without him.
Right.
He wasn't going to get another one done here. 2 in 14 years. So
but
go ahead.
But if you take if you take that one pick in 12 and you flip that for more picks, it sets like the franchise is in a different place.
Yeah.
Manning with that roster, not so great. But Manning with what they might have been able to build with that one pick, the bounty from the one pick, maybe they could have done something.
That would have taken some monster nuttage to bypass Andrew Luck, who was,
it could have turned into like 2016 being a complete catastrophe and never getting fixed.
I don't know, man.
It's easy to look back and give a revisionist history.
And look, I've been all over Luck for quitting, and I do believe he quit, but I don't know if, I don't know. I remember Grigson telling me, he goes, look, Jimmy, that was nobody else but Jimmy. Jimmy, we were like, hey, you got to make this call. This is Peyton Manning. I think I've told you this. There's a saying in coaching, if they fire Bob Knight at Indiana, they'll fire your ass. There's a saying in players, if they cut Peyton Manning in Indianapolis, they'll cut your ass too. So don't think.
Yeah.
No. Let's go back to the Colts here. I know everybody says this team, it isn't about this year, but when you're watching a game, it's kind of about this year.
Yeah, absolutely
right?
It is. Yeah.
So, last year the solution was to go out and get Jeff Saturday.
Yeah.
I think they were 3-2-1, or I don't know what they were last year, but it didn't work out great.
No.
What's the solution this year? You're kind of...
Oh, you have no solution.
There's none, right?
No.
No, you got the quarterback you got. You think they would ever look at Sam Ehlinger?
No.
No?
And they're right not to. They shouldn't. He's a lesser version of Minshew. Like, they're almost indistinguishable in practice from one another. Yeah, you can't tell one from another. It's same height, same kind of basic build. It's the hair and the mustache are different. But, yeah, like arm strength, mobility, all of that stuff, they're the same guy.
Is it as simple as, well, Minshew showed why he's a backup? Is it as simple as that?
Yeah.
I kind of, when I was watching him, I kind of felt that way. Like, he just showed you why ultimately he's a backup.
You can't, if he turns it over, you can't win. And quarterbacks are going to generally turn it over once in a while, and he did a bunch yesterday. And that game completely, like, you talk about a team that responded poorly to a situation. That fumble and then the Etienne touchdown made it 14-3, and that game was in the books.
You know who you didn't see anything out of? And you've talked about this, and I'm not even talking about making plays. I'm talking about energy. Shaq Leonard is nowhere to be seen on this team.
Yeah.
He's not even a factor, rah-rah. He's not even a factor. It's like he's gotten so into his own self or whatever. I don't even know. But I saw him around a pile, and I thought, all right, I'm going to look at him. I'm going to,
right.
Is it only about him? If he makes a play, I guarantee he's the first guy running to the end zone doing that stupid shit that they do. Every team does it, college and pros, so whatever. But I'm just saying, he's not even a factor in leadership, enthusiasm. He's not a factor in jack squat.
He wasn't yesterday.
No. Now that's when you need a guy.
He did have tackles. Man, you can get, if you get lost in your own noodle, that can be a tough out. You know what I mean? That maze.
No.
Sometimes there's no exit. You're Jack Nicholson in The Shining. You just wake up one morning with icicles coming off your beard.
I didn't see him. I know everybody, talks about him, and everybody doesn't want to say anything because he's signed his deal and he's kicking the stigma and all that. But you got to play. I don't give a shit about kicking the stigma.
I think he's embracing the stigma. I don't think he's kicking it.
Tell me why.
I think he's hugging it. I think he sort of enjoys his own level of, I don't want to use like a clinical term, but is kooky. Let's say kooky. He enjoys being kooky. He's embracing it. He thinks it's part of the makeup that allows him to compete at the level that he used to. And it doesn't. That's not it. It's speed. It's aggression. It's a lack of pain. It's all that stuff. It's not like this, look at me. Come on. Hey. No.
Can I ask you this?
Yeah.
Is there anything to the fact that he got paid?
I don't think there is. I don't think so.
All right.
I think it's the hurt and the pain, and and you know this, it does take you to a dark place if you allow it.
It does.
And I think it did, and I think he's trapped in it. And I think that's really sad. I would be stunned if he was a Colt next year. Stunned. The $8 million dead money, you take it and you run like thieves.
Yeah, a guy already on the chat right there said, let's not talk about the mental side because we don't know what he's going through. Well, you're right about that, but we are talking about performance. We are talking about on-the-field performance, and the coach in me, actually the player in me, even going back to high school, is like, what's wrong with him?
Yeah.
Like, what, his girlfriend break up with him? What are we doing? Hey, get the fuck up. Your girlfriend, so what? There's another girl over here. Leave her alone. What are you doing? I mean, I remember saying that to teammates, like, I don't know, in high school, like, shut up, let's go. But I know it's much different, and I know it's much deeper and darker. I've dealt with it. I absolutely have. I've dealt with not being able to get your head off the pillow. I've dealt with having to take meds. But we're talking about performance here, and day after a Colts absolute ass kicking, and you're paying a guy a lot of money, and you gave a guy an early extension along with other guys you gave early extensions to, including, linemen who are playing okay, but you couldn't run the ball yesterday in a game where you really needed to run the ball, and the play calling was horseshit because they were never going to run the ball.
Right.
Did you see that?
And it's not like we want Shaquille Leonard to fail.
No, I want him to be great.
We want him to play.
No, yes.
Love the guy.
Want to see him
Awesome
in the middle of the
human
field
being.
grabbing an interception, going nuts.
Want
It's
to have
boring when it doesn't.
Yeah, right.
Colts are a boring-ass team.
Let me ask you about this. Let's talk about that. I came home from college, I think after my sophomore or junior year. I couldn't get off the couch. It was like I was glued to the couch. Dad put up with it for about 2 weeks and said, look,
Because
you get
why?
your ass off the couch right now and get a job. And he said it in a way that got my attention. I got off the couch, I got a job. It's not like I was fixed, but
were you depressed?
Oh yeah,
Why?
God, man. Because I couldn't figure old IU out.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know how this place worked. I didn't know how to win. I couldn't figure out a path to win academically at the level I wanted to. And getting home, and then you've got the social situations that are good. That was fun. And it's gone.
Yeah, you're
And
at
so
home.
what do you do?
Yeah.
So I'm just on the couch. I'd get up at about 4, and Dad had enough and say, get your ass up. I got up. I think at some point you just get up. If you got somebody, like today, parents are like, oh my God, you've got to go see someone.
Yeah, we got to get you medicated.
Go see someone. Yeah, here, take these. Boop, 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 boop. Get your ass up. Do something with your life. Let's go.
I got to tell you, when I had it, it was a little deeper than that. I remember the day it left. The day it left is when I told Bowling Green, hey, look, I don't want an extension and you don't want to extend me. Here's my release. That night, I was sleeping like a baby in my bed that day, and I got a phone call at 3 a.m. from a player, a walk-on kid, who said, Coach, I need you to help. I go, what happened? He goes, got a DUI. I go, where you at? He goes, I'm right on the corner. Cops getting ready to book me. He goes, can you call the cops? Can you help me out here? I go, hey, Brian, let me ask you a question. I go, were you coming home from a party that you all had celebrating me no longer being your coach at Bowling Green? He goes, yeah, well, yeah. I go, hey, man, call the AD. Go fuck yourself. Boom! It's true. Call me a bad guy all you want. And I was downstairs talking on the phone, and my wife, she comes downstairs, she's like, who are you talking to? Like, it's 3 a.m. What am I, Jake from State Farm or some shit? And I told her the story, and she laid down next to me. She goes, this is really, really, really a lot better, isn't it? I go, oh, yeah. And I never looked back. When I took the job, or they gave me the job as interim coach at Indiana, I remember telling Jackie, my first wife, it ain't getting me like it got me. It ain't getting me. If we get the job, great. If we don't get the job, great. But I am never going back to that place ever again where I can't get my head off the pillow. I suffer every day. I got to fake it to make it every day. And then I got to have 4 beers at night to relax. I wasn't doing it.
Let me ask you about what Izzo said at Big Ten Media Days. He was talking about unhappiness.
Yeah.
and how unhappy, it's not bad. Unhappy can be good for you because unhappy motivates you to do something else. Facing adversity, I don't equate it with unhappiness. If he meant facing adversity is good, I'm afraid that guy is wired into like a belief system where unhappiness, and maybe he doesn't seem to coach toward this, but unhappiness is actually a positive, and it's not.
Well,
unhappy's no good.
I guess it depends on what. Like, here's why I got into depression. I had to see my son and my daughter after every loss, and I knew we couldn't win. We had football players. We had everybody hurt. For 2 years, we literally, one kid's jogging, tears his knees, done for the year, and my best player in like September, I'm at church of all things, and I get a text, I get back in my car. So there's a difference between unhappy and real depression.
Yes,
right. And that's a stout difference. Look, I would argue that everything that I have gone through in my life has made me be able to handle anything that anybody wants to throw at me. Like, not getting the Indiana job that people think I'm still mad about. I didn't give two shits. I didn't care when I got there. I was never going back to that place. Me not going back to the place of depression is the most important thing in my life, non-family related. But
that's family related.
That is family. You make everybody around you uncomfortable.
What's the matter with Dad?
Why can't he get up? And my kids never knew. Because, if I had to, I'd get up and take them to school. They never knew. But it is one of those deals where people say, well, what are you talking about? Just get up. I don't understand it. I didn't take meds for it. I didn't want to tell anybody. But my father always said, if you ever lose, it may kill you. And it almost did. And I was never going back to that. I didn't give a shit. Indiana, when I was there, we went, would we go 3-4? Never, not one of those losses bothered me even a little bit like losing one game did at Bowling Green to Akron. Even the Hoffarver thing, I'm like, hey, fuck it. I had to fight it that night.
It wasn't your team, though.
It wasn't, but it was my livelihood. My opportunity.
Right.
And that's. And, when you see your livelihood, and that's where Shaq Leonard is going to have to figure this out if he wants to continue with this livelihood. He's going to have to figure out that being Shaq Leonard of his rookie year doesn't equate anymore.
Right.
And he's got money, and if he's smart, he'll never have to work again. But do you want this career? And he's going to have to figure that out. And he's probably going to have to figure it out quickly.
And then, if you do stop, you got to figure out what's next.
And that can depress you too.
Holy moly. Former NFL players, I talked to a bunch of these guys. And that's the thing. You want to get depressed about humanity in a minute. And I hate to say this, but go to an NFL Alumni Association event. Those guys, it's like finally they've got a peer group that they can deal with. There's so much PTSD in professional football, and that feeling of camaraderie, that brotherhood that they all talk about and they all feel like they're a part of, once that's gone, I wanted to hire a guy as a talent in St. Louis, and he was a really high energy guy when he was on the air. Then we had lunch, and I was like, hey, come on, sit down. And he goes, oh, you watch sci-fi movies? All I do is watch sci-fi movies all day long. I sit and watch sci-fi movies. I was like, well, that's not going to work for my purposes because I don't run a sci-fi radio station.
It's not a sci-fi critic I'm hiring.
So let's talk about football. Yeah. You ever watch The Matrix? I was like, geez, Pete. But it was never ending with this guy. And I'm not going to mention his name, but my God.
I know.
They're all so sad. I feel, and so when people talk about professional football, and they talk about how, these guys, they get all the jack, they get their bag, and their life is all set. Their life is anything but set. Their life, in a lot of cases, ends as they've always planned it to be by the time they're 30, and it's tragic. So don't come at me about NFL players and how good they got it, because they don't.
I'll tell you something else. I told my son, my stepdaughter, I would have told your son if he'd asked, the hardest time in an athlete's life is when it's over. And that's the same
Yeah,
thing in
yeah,
college.
yeah.
Worst I ever felt until I was a head coach were the 2 years I was a grad assistant in Indiana. I mean, you don't belong. I'll never forget.
Yeah.
We're going to New York to play in the NIT Final Four. I'm the captain of the team. We come back, late night, we all leave. We lost to Reggie Miller, night's pissed. We all done. I go back in the locker room the next day on Sunday. I think it was Sunday, maybe it was Monday, I don't know. Felt like I didn't belong. One day to the next, did not belong in that locker room anymore. And got my stuff and went, wow. And I told my son, you're going to be depressed. I'm just telling you, you got to prepare for it. Because you don't know what you're going to do. You're not on a team anymore. You're not important anymore. You're a former player, which you're like, God damn, that means old. Oh, I'm telling you, I totally get what NFL guys do. And the best thing a guy can do is go to law school, or best thing a guy can do is have the next thing to look forward to.
Gary Brackett, go open restaurants, learn the restaurant business.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm telling you, man, oh man, if you see a college athlete that's a graduate assistant, guarantee you they're struggling. Like, I remember Spike.
You're in that netherworld.
You don't have anything.
You're in between.
You're not a coach.
Yeah.
You're a student because you're going to grad school, but you're not a. It's just depressing as hell. And I remember telling my stepdaughter this year, I go, hey, look, just be happy because you're going to have, you're not going to be at different times. And, but I saw people on here saying, well, Leonard's a professional. He should figure out. I agree with you. I do agree with you. If you're going to take someone's money, then you have the obligation to do everything you can to figure it out. And I'm going to believe that Shaq Leonard is doing everything he can.
I do too.
I'm going to believe that. Now, whether people do or they don't, or they say, well, he's, what, I don't know, but I'm going to believe that he's doing everything possible mentally to beat the stigma, and on the field, film work, lifting, eating, all the stuff you do. I'm going to believe that he's doing that until I'm told he's not.
There's a lot of talk always here and elsewhere about a lack of desire. Oh, they just don't want it. They're not playing hard enough. There is nothing more appalling to Shaq Leonard than the fact that he can't play at the level that he wants to play at.
Oh, God.
He wants that, and he's doing everything he can, and they're hoping that by November he's able to, but at this point.
Yeah, and the thing about a fan trying to say, hey, he doesn't care. Well, if you don't care in football, you could die out there.
Right.
I just had Mike Singletary on.
Did you?
Yeah, he was awesome. And I'm like, Mike, back in your day, you could really die because you took a guy's head off, and I'm being literal, not figurative.
Yeah.
And he's like, Dan, he goes, he was telling me how he knew when it was time to quit. He said that he had his trainer every year ramp it up a little more because I'm getting older. I need more than I did last off season. He said, so I finished, what was it? He said his 12th season. He goes, and my trainer's ramping it up. And he goes, I know he didn't ramp it up that much, but I knew I couldn't keep up.
Is that right?
He goes, and I'm done. He goes, when I couldn't keep that up, I said, I am done, and I could not keep up in the offseason to get myself prepared for the season. And football, if you guys think players aren't playing, now basketball I'll give you. Basketball, to me, guys take too much time off. Guys, if you really watch guys, particularly off the ball, playing defense, that kind of thing, guys are always taking it off. But football, I don't know, man. If you take a play off in football, and you will, I think you got to play football like this, not like this. I think you got to be like,
you can't play football stoned.
I wouldn't think you could,
but you can play basketball stoned because guys have.
Oh, yeah, I mean, what was it? Marshawn Lynch said he took a shot of Hennessy before a game.
Yeah.
You can do a lot of shit with one shot of Hennessy.
Singletary, I think it's an absolute crime that his number isn't retired. I know you only have so many numbers and you're an NFL team, but they don't have 50 hanging someplace at Soldier Field is a disgrace.
It's a disgrace. I agree, because anybody that understood that, which is the greatest football defense I've ever seen in my life at any level, that doesn't understand the value of him as the captain of that Samurai Mike, the captain of that group. Are you shitting me?
Yep.
Oh, please.
100%.
Please. And that's what, we all were kind of hoping that's who Leonard would be. All right, I got to go through positions with you. That's what we do. Cornerback.
I like Juju Brents. I didn't like the PI calls. I thought sucked. Jalen Jones has some work to do. And DJ Baker. Oh,
that's your guy.
Oh,
you love DJ Baker.
Old DJ. Maybe he should become a baker. Maybe that's his
DJ
next
Baker,
career.
the sausage maker, or the cake maker.
Not
no
real
good. Huh?
No, what'd you think?
I thought that when I watched. Here's how I watched, and this isn't right. At first, I watched the line, and then I pick up the quarterback. It was kind of all at once. And this is what I felt like, Kent. I remember watching Kenny Stabler the one time he played against the Bears when we were kids. And I swear to God, this is when this hit me. Because you know how they show the guy throwing and then they quickly pan to the receiver?
Yeah.
Every time he threw the ball, I thought it was a completion.
Yeah.
And that's how I felt yesterday. Yeah. I felt like every time he dropped back, he, being Lawrence, was going to hit a guy that was open. And I know Brent's got the interception, and that's you forgive a lot of stuff because he got an interception. But I didn't think any of those guys had any idea on a consistent basis how to stop the passing game, I'll call it.
No, there were guys wide
that's
open.
What I'm saying.
Really open. And more than one
for touchdowns. I mean, like I watched it, I'm like, and I wanted to say that Kenny Moore is involved every time there's a screw-up because he was involved in 2. But there were so many screw-ups that it's like, okay, he couldn't have been involved in every one of them. Or maybe it was.
Do you, and maybe this is me getting out over my skis a little bit, but I blame Gus Bradley a little bit for complicating this to the point where these guys can't execute.
I can't. If one switch is going to cost you 2 guys standing there wide open,
They're looking at each other. They're covering each other.
How about we don't do that? How about we, honest to God, I mean, they always say, well, you get in the red zone, it gets a little tighter down there. It's tougher. I forget who it was, wide open in the end zone. I'm like,
and a guy next to him.
Yeah, it was wide open.
Yeah.
It was like almost like 2 guys. They always say when 2 receivers are in the same spot, somebody screwed up. Well, 2 receivers were damn near in the same spot, but nobody on the defense was in the spot. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, this is crazy.
Yeah.
This is the old Charlie Weiss thing. This is a schematic disadvantage what happened here. But I didn't think they were very good.
And the one play I kind of got where Brent is a rookie and he cheats, he sees the screen, and so he cheats to the screen while the guy beats him deep. And that's no good, but you learn from that. The other stuff was it was such a cacophony of errors that I don't know who's going to learn what from which.
The one thing you got to learn, I think, in any sport, and I don't care if it's basketball, baseball, football, maybe hockey, you can't let the ball go over your head.
Right.
You can never let the damn ball go over your head. You're an outfielder, the ball cannot get over your head. If it drops in front, okay, they get a single, and maybe that single gives you 2 runs. I don't know. But that ball going over your head in football as a corner, that ain't good.
Nope.
And the ball going over your head in basketball usually ends up with a layup on the other end.
And those guys are sick. I mean, Brent Spites on that screen is like, oh, crap.
As soon as it happens.
Are you kidding me?
The words, oh, shit, originated from a cornerback taking a bad step, and oh, shit. That's where. But I felt they were completely overmatched.
Yeah.
On defensive front.
Well, you can't. When you've got a quarterback, you're playing against a quarterback who can't throw it deep, you get to compress everything. And of course it looked like Matt Ryan. It was the same dynamic. People kept saying, oh, this is just like last year. Yeah, it did look like last year because you got a quarterback who can't throw it more than 25 yards.
I'm talking about the Colts defensive line.
Yeah.
Okay, what are you saying?
Well, so you're saying schematically.
Did you like the Colts defensive front?
Oh.
That's what I was asking. I was going position by.
What was the like? And you had DeForest Buckner, and I know he had a sack, and that's all good. But that neutral zone infraction was a killer. It was 3rd and 4 at the Colts 44, and maybe the play would have worked out, and they'd have converted the first down anyway. But that hands it to him and puts him in field goal range. They go down, they get the touchdown. That was that EJ Speed moment from the previous loss
Yes.
where
Yes.
he hit Stafford out of bounds.
Yes.
You can't do that if you've got Gardner Minshew as your quarterback. You cannot give life to the opposing offense.
I felt like the defensive front, how do I put it? It was almost like they were there-ish. Like I thought, you know, the one thing that again, 3 or 4 weeks ago, I felt like Trevor Lawrence looked old. Like I'm watching him, I don't know, they got beat by somebody. It was before they went and beat the Bills and before they beat whoever they beat before. It was like 3 weeks. His ball had a hump. I felt like he was getting tackled easily. And you and I talked about, you know, in the college football playoffs, he outran Ohio State's entire defense to go 60, which tells me that freaking guy can hoof it. He can run.
Yeah.
And I saw it they were almost there, and then he would make a nice move, get out of the pocket. They almost got to him, and he would get the pass away. I guess it's the sign of a bad defensive front when you're talking about almost instead of actually doing it.
When they got him off schedule, it kind of worked out.
Yeah.
But when he wasn't, it was a disaster.
No, it was.
You give him time, it's over.
No, offensive line.
Ours?
Yeah.
I thought they were. I don't know how you win when you're blocking 8 with 5.
I know.
So I can't blame them all day long. Plus, you've got a quarterback who doesn't move real well, so he couldn't penalize him when he kind of escaped through the front of the pocket. It was a gain of 4 instead of a gain of 24.
Yeah, I think the idea that I had brought up with you last week or Thursday, I think, do they have a better shot to win this particular game with Minshew? No. No. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder how much a guy like Jack Doyle, even Mo Alley Cox, who people tell me is a really good blocker, I wonder how much missing a guy like that who knows his job is to, block and do a great job of that. Just do a great job blocking somebody.
Yeah.
And that's what you do. Like Jack would catch a ball or two, but everybody talked about he might have been the best blocking tight end. So now you got 5, you got a center, 2 guards, two tackles, but now you got a really good blocking tight end. Maybe you got a chance, but it felt like the Colts, I don't know, first drive was all right, then it stalled. They were deaking and dunking and getting 6, 7. It was good, but it's just not sustainable. I think I've said this to you, Ken. I think I've said this for 10 years. You got to have some freaking weapons.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch.
Well, if you're the defensive coordinator of the Jaguars and you're watching tape, who do you say, okay, I got to stop that guy? There is no that guy. Without Richardson, there's no that guy. Even if you had a burner, no. You don't have to give a shit about that guy because he can't get separation, or you don't have a quarterback who can throw to the separation. So
what do you think? Somebody asked me this, and I'm going to say to be a wide receiver down the field, whether it's a wide receiver 1 or just is that what Alec Pierce was brought in to be? What was he brought in to be?
That I think they brought him in to be like a possession guy, but they already got a possession.
That's what I'm
guy.
saying.
Yeah, because he can't get separation down the field.
No, and one guy can cover him.
Yeah, always.
Yeah, and that's the problem.
Good catch yesterday, the one hand.
Very good. I think he's got terrific hands at times.
Yeah.
But what's he brought here to do? Like, what's his, I heard remember when they drafted him, so many guys said, well, he was my number 1 receiver on the board, and he was my okay. What is he about? Is he about, we're going to go deep, and we're going to go over the middle, we're going to catch the ball just past the sticks, we're going to throw him 6 yards, hope he can break some? I just don't, he's a nothing player to me right now.
I thought he was that guy that could figure out how to run a route. They like length. They always talk about length.
Yeah, length.
I don't, length, okay. So, it's kind of like, all right, Tom Crean at Indiana would say we had 36 deflections. All right, you lost by 9. What are we doing?
We need a 50.
Why are we keeping track of this and recruiting to it? Oh, he's +7. His wingspan's
it's a big deflection.
7.
Yeah, +7.
Jeez.
What does that mean, +7? So if I'm 6'5", my wingspan's supposed to be 6'5", right? Isn't that the way the world works?
Yeah.
So +7 would be 7 feet
Yeah, 84 inches.
Okay, fair enough.
You'd like it, but it can't be the overarching principle of your recruiting, or drafting. I know Gus Bradley wants
or telling fans. Or telling fans that this is important on an ass kicking.
He was a wrestler in high school.
Oh, that's the
I don't want to hear any of that shit anymore.
Rock Ya-Sin was really a good wrestler,
And he overcame the adversity of his football program disintegrating around him, and he transferred to Temple. You learn how to answer that kind of adversity. He's a Presbyterian. I think it was Presbyterian. And they said no more football. And boy, that's a good thing. We want players from a defunct program. Ran the thing into the ground. It's like he drove his car off a cliff like Thelma and Louise, but we want him driving our car.
Yeah. Well, he learned from Thelma and Louise. He learned from that. Well, look, my program left me, but I didn't leave it, damn it.
No.
And I'm now going from Presbyterian to the Catholics. Or is Temple Jewish?
I don't think it's Jewish.
It's Catholic. Is it Catholic? I think it's Catholic.
Know.
I heard Temple.
It could very well be.
I think it's Catholic. I don't know. Dawkins looks like Freddy Krueger. Is Freddy Krueger Friday the 13th?
No, that's Jason.
Oh, man. We were watching the Colorado up 29 game.
Yeah.
And Lee and I and Tegan were having a little wine. And, Lee and I had played golf and then pickleball. We're tired, end of the day. It's 29-0. We flipped over to Jason. Friday the 13th, the final chapter with Corey Feldman gives that look. Oh, man. Hey, Fan Pastor, man, and the rest of you gritty, if you thought back in the day that movies were high-end, watch that shit, and you'll be like, what is this, a porn in the back of the freaking car? Oh, my God.
Value.
No, it's unbelievable. Jason did have a mask on, but they ripped it off, and then Corey Feldman shaved his head as like a 6-year-old to go beat him. It's unbelievable. I can't wait to watch. The final chapter was not the final chapter. Then it's Jason Returns.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Got to have the sequel for the final chapter.
You got yes.
Got to have the epilogue.
Corey Feldman gives that look.
Because the epilogue, and you talk about this, for the FBI when we were kids. That's the most terrifying thing in the history of television.
If somebody was from Chicago, and I had to see that on Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. FBI, I was shitting myself.
You go out in the yard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We just had somebody try to break in our next door neighbor's house at 5:30 in the morning. Oh man. So Lee and I went out and got a gun. We went and got another gun. We got 2 now. We did. We went to Cabela's yesterday. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but why would somebody risk their lives for stuff in my house or your house?
Yeah,
there ain't nothing in this house.
No.
Honest to God, there's no cash in this house. The TVs you can buy for $20. I honestly don't understand. People say, well, you shouldn't shoot somebody over your stuff. My question is the opposite. Why would you come in my house and risk your own life? Because everybody on my block is armed. Everybody. Yeah. It's all dudes, married, younger dudes, a crazy New Jersey guy here, a doctor here, rich dude down there, former football player at Purdue here, and everybody got guns. And we talk about it because we were talking about whether we shoot the Hawk or not, which we did not, by the way. The Hawk ran into the back screen door.
You got one thing.
What?
If somebody breaks into Julia my house, you got an unhappy burglar. That's what you got. They may get out with stuff, but they're gonna say, "My God, all they have are flat screen TVs." We made a haul with flat screen TVs, but they don't have jewelry. They have no cash.
Oh, we got no jewelry.
These people, we got a problem.
You can ransack this place. I tell you, the best thing you're gonna find is little minis of Blue Chair Bay rum that I used to get all the time. There's no expensive whiskey. I'm looking over there right now. We got. Oh, man. Oh, we got a little something. We got St. Elmo's bourbon, I guess that is.
Some Baileys.
Yeah, some Baileys.
Some Bombay Sapphire.
Yeah, if you want that.
Right.
Probably empty.
I haven't had gin.
Oh.
in 25, 30
Why don't we
years.
get back into gin?
I'm in.
I used
Gin
to,
and
Tanqueray and tonic was my summer drink.
At weddings?
Yes.
That was the thing. At receptions? I'll take a Tanqueray and tonic, thank you. And keep them coming.
We went, Dave Pishker's the winningest high school baseball coach in the state of Indiana. My high school baseball coach, and Gretchen Wellman, his wife, was my next door neighbor. We grew up together. So we go to his wedding. It's in the basement of like Saint something church. And my boys and I say, look, here's the deal. You're going to run out of gin. Do we need to go to the store before? And the guys, we knew all the guys. They're like, Dan, we're not running out of gin. I go, I'm telling you right now, there's about 10 of us. You're going to run out of gin. About 3 hours later, they ran out of gin. The guy's like, Dan, I'm sorry. I go, well, no, we can't go. Right? No, nobody can drive. We got we got this girl over here. She's going to drive us, and now we can't. What? Come on. I don't lie. I study. Come on, Kent. Running backs. We paid a lot of money for them.
15 carries for the running backs, 40 yards. But again, 5 on 8. Tough.
That's not going to change, is it?
No.
I'm not changing.
You're kidding?
That
you
shit.
know what the Browns are going to do? What kind of hell the Browns are going to wrought upon the Colts? That defense their offense sucks.
Yeah.
But that defense is real. And this is not, they better figure something out.
Our guy Sean Black, who is our Browns correspondent, feels like it is going to be emotionally draining on the Colts how physical the Browns defense are. Because apparently the Browns won a fucking game. So now Sean Black, look at that. Defense is a mother, according to Sean. So they win one game, Sean, without the great Masseur, and now everybody's happy.
On a missed kick.
On a missed easy kick.
Yep.
41
yards.
A third-round draft choice, Jake Moody. Third-round pick, 99th pick in the draft.
I feel good about Matt Gay. I think that this game could wind up being 12-9.
Is Matt Gay the MVP of the Colts?
Sheesh.
He won a game.
What an indictment that'd be. My God. But.
Is he?
Boom.
Who would you say is the most valuable
that's a funny
player?
question, but it's legitimate.
What are the Colts, 3-3?
Yeah, 3-3, and they're 2-4 without him. He had the best day in the history of kicking.
Well, I'm saying. If
Yikes.
you were gonna have the end of the season banquet right now, you were gonna name an MVP of the team, it's not gonna be Richardson.
No.
It's not gonna be anybody on the defense, is it? Is it gonna be
maybe Zach Moss?
Maybe Zach.
But this past week, this wasn't good yesterday for him.
Oh.
Let's go to Indiana basketball for a minute.
Yeah.
We're both wearing the IU colors. Liam McNeeley, I watched last night. I watched him play this game. So I think I'm an expert on Liam McNeeley.
Yeah.
When you
tweet
watch
this out,
a guy,
we're going to start talking about it.
When you watch a guy, and you're trying to see whether he can play or not at the Big Ten level, and this isn't even, it's not high school, what was going on last night, and it's not AAU.
No.
This is meaningless. It's like a contrivance to make people money and sell out the Bishop Gorman gym.
Yeah.
What do you look for to see if his game translates to the Big Ten?
Well, I look how easy he shoots the ball. That's important, and he does. How does he move? He seems to move in the right spot. Does he know how to play? You mentioned, you and I were talking off air. Where's he at defensively? What's he doing off the ball? Because if you're unengaged off the ball, that means you're a pretty selfish guy. I talk about Let Recker and A.J. Guyton all the time. Is driving me nuts because they were always disengaged off the ball. And then there's a feel that I feel like I have about it. And I watched the kid. I did watch some highlights. Somebody had a highlight of him making 4 or 5 threes, and I thought, well, this guy's pretty good. I mean, he can shoot it easy. He runs well. He gets to the right spots. Probably can finish with both hands.
But you evaluate shooters differently than like result-based people. You can tell if a guy can shoot even when he misses.
I don't worry about whether the ball goes in or not. A lot of guys say, well, he's not really a good shooter, but the ball goes in. Well, then you're playing in front of 17,000 people and national TV against a Purdue loaded-up defense. You better have a nice stroke. You better have a stroke that holds up.
Yeah.
You know, golfers talk about it all the time. I got to have a swing that holds up under immense pressure. Well, it's the same thing with an 18 to 23-year-old playing in Mackey Arena. and you're trying to beat Purdue and you're Indiana. Does your stroke hold up? And I think his does. I think he's got a good-looking stroke. I think he's got a good-looking game. I haven't seen enough, but, I texted with Dane Fife last night. I said, hey, how good's this kid? And he said, I think he's really good. He goes, I think he can shoot it, he can move. Seems to be a good guy. I've never met a good athlete named Liam, but maybe I'm missing something. But, and I want Indiana to win, but I'm tired. I'm so freaking tired. New era starts with Liam McNeeley. Shut up.
Yeah.
You know what? I said this before, and I'll say this again, and it's totally unfair. Not one guy that ever played in the Elite Eight, the Final Four on a national championship team at Indiana ever had to have a press conference to where he's going to school. And none. And people can say, well, recruiting wasn't that interesting. I would argue that Isaiah Thomas's recruiting in the Chicago papers was 100 times more publicized, whether he was going to DePaul, Indiana, why they hated Indiana, than Liam McFrickin-Neely. So everyone wanted to come into my house, for Christ's sake, in Northwest Indiana. Chicago TV stations wanted to be there when I signed. I mean, everybody wanted to be at Alford's. Back then it was a big deal in your area going to India. And all of us were like, yeah, I don't need to do that shit. But I wouldn't do the photo deals that they do. I wouldn't.
Oh, no, with the uniforms
not a chance
and the poses and
not
whatnot?
a chance.
No.
Not a chance. But this is the world that we live in. But I'm just telling you. Indiana used to be different, and good for Indiana. They got a good kid. The NIL stuff is working. Woody's apparently got the touch. But look, and then I'll stop and I'll let you talk. Started with Bracy Wright. Maybe it started with Andre Patterson and Neil Reed. I don't know. Those guys. Then Bracy Wright came in. All right, great. Jared Jeffries was a highly touted recruit, but not like this. And Jared Jeffries didn't need to have anybody. Dane Fife was an okay type, but none of these guys were considered saviors. George Leach wasn't. Newton was okay. Donald Perry okay. Moye, yeah. Guys were. If you're going to Indiana, you're going to be recruited at a certain level. But these dudes that I'm going to talk about are seen to be saviors. Bracy Wright was going to turn the whole program around. Just you wait till Bracy Wright gets it. Pull this and plays Jingle Bell. Then you had that big, strong guy, Killingsworth. He was going to be a savior because he could dunk. Okay, he could dunk. Then, where are we at now? Then you had Zeller, who went to, okay, fine. Then you had Romeo Langford, DJ White,
Zeller
Eric Gordon.
in the Hatchet House with like 8,000 people there when he declared.
Yeah, that was the one guy. And I guess they went to 2 Sweet 16s.
Did they?
That's what
in 12 and 13? I know in 13 they did, yeah.
You got Eric Gordon, who people blame me for the demise. Look, I didn't shoot 7 for 51. I mean, I'm not. I got him 51 shots from 3 in 7 games. I'm doing a hell of a job. So Romeo Langford, Trace Jackson Davis, all these guys, and they've combined in this century for 2 Sweet 16.
Yeah.
2 Big Ten titles. This entire century.
Yeah.
Which is now 2 decades and a half. So I'm done with the whole Liam McNeeley signs at halftime.
I would love a kid who just tells his parents, I'm going to Indiana. And that's it. And then like Jeff Rabjohns calls, God love him, and he's like, eh. And he just goes about his business. I think that'd be great. I would love that kid.
And people say, well, that's not the world that we live in.
Why?
I don't know. It's the world, like people say, well, Duke and North Carolina do it this way. Okay, great, let them do it this way. I've always said Indiana should be different. I've always said because of our state and basketball, it just should be different. I've always said that. I've said for the last 5 years, Indiana is no different than anybody else now. Indiana and Cincinnati are the same program. Indiana, Middle Tennessee State, same program. We do the same things. There's nothing special. And people say, well, don't jump on the bandwagon when they win. Shut up. I mean, this ain't a bandwagon for me. This is my life. So just shut the hell up. And all I've seen is this. All I've seen is guys come in here. We got to listen to their bullshit. We got to hear about Doyle telling us what a sweet kid Langford is and he's the greatest player. And we got to listen, and then they leave. And then we got to listen to the next guy come in. And all the while, they don't do shit here. And we all got to sit there and go, oh, here comes Slapdick Johnny is the next guy. Just show up, be all about Indiana, win, and I'm your biggest fan.
Win and then have the press
But
conference.
be all about Indiana, not about my brand, not Cooper Kupp wearing a headband because it's the NCAA tournament. Or Trey Galloway, he's a vibe. Fuck. Trey Galloway is fucking this up. Trey Galloway should be a first-team All-American. I know I told you that before. Trey Galloway has more talent than any guy that I have seen of his ilk at Indiana, going back to Randy Whitman. Trey Galloway should, and he's fucking it up. He's fucking it up. And his coaches are fucking it up because nobody seems to make that guy understand you should be the best defender in the league. You should be a 20-point-a-game scorer. You should be going to the rim, getting fouled 10 times a game. You're a senior. You should know more. And maybe he will. Maybe he will. Or maybe he'll just stand in the corner and worry about throwing it into some Ball State transfer or some Oregon transfer. But I don't care what anybody tells me. Trey Galloway, and if I was his dad, I'd be pissed. I'd be pissed at him for being the social whatever the fuck he thinks he is. I'd be pissed at the coaches for not demanding more and using him better. That dude is so much better than anybody I played with at Indiana. And it ain't even, you can take Alford or Whitman or Chaney. I don't know about Chaney, but that dude should be a first-team All-American. Maybe he will be.
What is it about him that has you so enamored?
There's nothing he can't do. He can run, he can jump, he can finish, he's cocky. He doesn't shoot it great, but that's on him. You know, stop hanging around the girls' dorms and go get it in the gym and make jump shots and work on it. There's nothing about his game that isn't terrific. And I swear to God, if I coached him, he would be offended every day. He would be, his way of going about things, at least from the outside, he would be so offended by me that it would be, they would have to call me, you know, well, he's white, but they'd still call me racist. I don't know. They'd call me every name in the book for just crushing his soul every day until he got out of this, whatever he is. He's so fucking talented.
Are there, like, toughness? Is that overplayed? Do we talk about
really
toughness too much?
I think he's really tough, but there is a toughness to going to work every day. Every day. And there's a toughness, and I did not have it. There's a toughness to putting all the shit that comes with being an Indiana basketball player aside and going into the gym and going into the every day. Because all that, we didn't have it available to us. You couldn't get into Assembly Hall. People acted like assholes whenever I tried to get into Assembly Hall.
I'd see Uwe shooting at the hype.
That's right. I mean, you go into Assembly Hall, Clint or Kurt or whoever held the lights, you get treated like shit. It's like, wait a second, okay. So we go to the hyper and shoot jump shots, or I found a little court where I would play my little boombox and drive my car over because when we were there, everybody was a dick. Everybody, Royce Waltman, dick. Con Smith, dick. Jim Cruz, dick. Everybody was a dick. Like you'd walk into Assembly Hall and I just had my basketball. I'm a freshman and I just wanted to, well, Doc H, why are you in here today? Some stupid Bob Knight bullshit comment. That was unbelievable. When I played, now everybody wants you in the gym. They got pass codes, touch codes. I'm telling you, if I were Trey Galloway, if I were his parents, if I was his brother or sister, I'd be called a toxic male. I would be called a toxic freaking man. I would brutalize him until he figured it out and went and made an NBA contract. He's so much better than like Will Sheehy or I don't know if he's better than Oladipo, but he's right there.
Will Sheehy was an interesting fella. I interviewed him once, and the first thing he told me in the interview is what his dad did for a living.
His dad's like a rich dude, right?
Yeah. In Florida, like runs cable or something down there.
Comcast down there.
Yeah. And I thought, I don't care what your dad does for a living. I want to talk about basketball and what you're going. He was a freshman, and I thought, well, this isn't going well. You know, good luck to you. And then I talked to Oladipo, and I loved Victor Oladipo. And then all of a sudden he decided to to be Victor.
Yeah,
he was feathery.
Yeah, that's hard to.
Which bothered me.
That's but I like Sheehy. Sheehy's Uncle Tim beat us. He was with Virginia.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, so I liked his dad, and I liked him. One time, it was before a game, and I had stopped at Potbelly's to get a sandwich.
Nice.
So I'm coming down Kirkwood, and however you went, I went up this one street, and here comes Oladipo pulling out with his dad, and I always had a great relationship with him. I look over, and he's flipping me off. So I'm calling the game. All I could do was laugh, right? And
Oladipo flipped you off?
No, I'm sorry. Sheehy was with his dad, and I look over, and he's like, well, that doesn't bode well for you on the broadcast. You better hit every one of your shots. But no, I think Indiana has a chance to be really good. I think Indiana, like a lot of people are saying, well, Indiana's got all these big guys and a 6-year point guard and Robert Jackson, whatever his name is. Yeah, I mean, he should. Jackson,
we've been down that road.
Yeah, he should be really good. And I don't know, man. I'm sure I'm wrong. I'm sure the coaches are doing everything they can, and Galloway's doing everything he can. But I'm just telling you, that dude's a first-team All-American. If he would have played when I was playing at Indiana, I would have hoped he got hurt, so he wouldn't play ahead of me all the time.
I'm not sure whether what you're saying qualifies as praise that sounds like a criticism or a criticism that sounds like praise.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah,
it
goes both ways.
Yeah.
One of the things that I can't...
If I'm Galloway, I'm kind of cool with this, but at the same time, I'm offended.
Yeah. Well, they'd be offended. Life's hard. Get a helmet. I mean, seriously. I just look at certain guys and I go, man, that guy, I wish I had that guy's stuff. Like my former roommate, Rick Rowe, I'm like, man, he dunk it any way you want. His big legs. I'm like, God, I wish I had that guy's stuff. I mean, and Galloway's, yeah, and I like the Renault kid. I think he's good.
Yeah.
And I don't mind having Johnson out there. He's fine. They tell me Ware's impressed. I don't know. I mean, but all I know is this.
Woodson keeps talking about he's got to learn how to work hard. That doesn't fill me with optimism.
That is not good.
No.
And I saw 2 mock drafts. I happened to be getting ready for a show, and I forget why I looked. And there were 2 kids. Ware was one of them, and this Magombo?
Yeah, Mackenzie Mbako.
Mbako. Yeah, he's on there too as like a 14th pick in one of these mock drafts. And then I talked to somebody else, and they're like, yeah, Duke didn't want him. They had enough of him in Kansas. I mean, I don't know. Who knows? It doesn't. All the shit doesn't matter.
Right.
It matters when you play, and I'm at the point with Indiana, I don't give a shit. Win the Big Ten tournament, whatever. Get deep and don't quit in the NCAA tournament like you have the last 2 years.
Yeah.
You quit against St. Mary's. It was a tough turnaround, and you quit against Miami. Totally quit. I mean, even Doyle and those guys who kiss everybody's ass are like, well, Indiana quit. So it wasn't just me saying it. It's the bitter old man get off my lawn guy.
Do you like watching the women play?
I do. I mean, I don't love it.
I think she's a good coach. I think Terry Warren's a good coach.
She's a really good coach. And you know what? I became kind of friends with Tyra Buss's family, and I thought watching her was great. I love women's sports because of my wife and my stepdaughter.
Sure.
But I think they do a great job there, and I hope they continue. Did you see this? 55,000 people at Iowa's practice. I don't know.
They played against DePaul.
Oh, I thought they played against each other.
I think it was like I don't think it was a regular season thing.
National champion DePaul?
DePaul.
Oh.
Like from Chicago.
Oh.
They played Doug Bruno.
Oh.
Hello. He's got to go see Bill Self about a guy. He's got to talk to Self. Where do you get yours? Because this isn't working for me. I think he just picks it up off the dresser and pops it on his head and goes and coaches. I don't know how you do that.
I would be so self-conscious. I turned my head and the thing stays here. I went one time to a guy. In Hammond. A friend of mine, my mother's, her son it was kind of weird. They kind of like sewed it into your head. And I saw him. I'm like, I couldn't tell. So I went to this guy's basement. And the guy really sold me. So I gave him like $200 as a down payment. And it's probably 90 maybe. And I remember going to sleep, waking up going, What the fuck did I do?
that's 200 you'll never get
Yeah, I
back.
never even went back. I just chalked it up to a learning experience.
I don't like this thing, and here's what I'm going to do with it. Out the window it
Elaine
goes.
Bennett.
Oh,
I thought George looked better. Hey, I don't care what anybody says. We should do one of these shows where you guys ask questions. That would be interesting. Because we get a great group on here. We got 210. Now, we need you. Please subscribe and like. Please.
It's the polite thing to do. It's Hoosier hospitality, for God's sake. Here we are.
I didn't really ask you. What did you think of Indiana basketball? What do you think of Gal? What do you think of this new savior?
I think you got to be able to shoot. And I watched McNeeley last night, and I always think that I'm way ahead of the curve and that I understand everything I'm watching when I'm alone in a room watching TV. I've seen him for a game. I've watched him 3 times on ESPN. He moves without the ball really well. It's like he's going someplace. Instead of just drifting, he's moving. He's directing others to move. I don't know whether he's directing him in the right direction. I love his shot. I think defensively, he defends away from the ball with some focus.
Yeah.
And I like that a lot. Especially, and I don't know whether, like high school, you're getting coached at a different level. But these like ad hoc games, or whether it's summer, show me a kid who defends. That's a kid I'd like to have.
I think he's a basketball player.
He looks like a basketball player.
Yeah, he looks like a basketball player. But by that, I'm sure he can, like, things you got to be able to do now. Shoot the basketball, pick and pop. Make a play off of a roll. High ball screen. I'm rolling down the lane. You hit me a little awkward. I got to be able to hit the opposite corner, or I got to hit over here. Those are very important things. If I'm playing in the post, I got to be able to pass out of a double team. You have to be able to do that. If you cannot do that, then you got to make the right pass, and you got to put it right here, because guys are set up to shoot. I think you got to be able to, if you're going to be a real player, you got to be able to sprint the floor, stop at the 3-point line, hit a shot. You always got to be able to finish, and you got to be able to finish through contact, and your point defensively is absolutely right.
That's why I didn't like Cooper Flagg last night, is that McNeely's open on the opposite wing. Flagg drives, just flings it out, and McNeeley had to catch it up here.
That's a big
Put it here, guy can shoot it. It's almost like Cooper Flagg was making a pass in a way that could not generate a shot, so maybe he'd get a touchback.
The legendary Cedric Ceballos. NBA guys will tell you this. If you're ever on a 2-on-1 with Cedric Ceballos, or a 3-on-2, and Ced has the ball, he would always throw it a little bit behind the guy, so the guy had to make a catch off balance and immediately throw it back. A lot of NBA guys call that the Cedric Ceballos.
Really?
Oh, yeah. You know he's open. I'll throw it a little high, and then I'll cut to the post, because he can't shoot it, and the defense has to extend. But now here I am. Oh, yeah.
Man.
Oh, yeah.
That's a shitty way to play basketball.
That's a shitty way to live. That's a shitty way to live, people.
But I think they're going to do okay with the kid.
I do too. I like him. I mean, I don't know that he's a savior, and I don't care if he's a savior, and I don't care if he plays a minute. If other guys are better, play him.
I want what you have said, and I wasn't there, so I assume you're depicting this accurately. You're getting in guys' asses. And like, you better play. I want Galloway to be that guy. I want Galloway to be, look, where? This is how we do it at Indiana. I think Indiana lost that. I don't think they've got a guy who knows what Indiana needs to be.
I was encouraged last year at this time, and I felt like Indiana was going to have a decent year because Jackson Davis, I think you and I talked about it. He started to understand. Yogi Ferrell, it took him forever. Yogi Ferrell and his mommy, man, they wanted him to score buckets, and they were mad if he didn't, blah, blah, blah. And then Yogi Ferrell became a real winner.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and it's hard, sometimes it takes you a few years to get that all figured out. When you go there, you're trying to get on the floor. Once you're on the floor, then you realize, wait a second, man, I'm getting a lot of attention off the floor. You got to deal with that. And then it's like, wait a second, I want to keep this job, so I better score. And then winning comes in somewhere, you get 20 points or 10 points, and you're all excited because even though you lost, you still got yours. And then you become, well, fuck this, I'm secure enough and I'm going to win.
Yeah.
And that's hard. Yeah. That's why, right. I don't know. That's why I just, unless, is this McNeeley going to be here more than 1 year? I don't know.
That, I keep thinking about what you said about that.
I don't know.
Is 1 year enough time for all the tumblers to rock into the right position and get a guy to produce.
No, you just got to be really good. I mean, if you're going to win, the only guy that I think I'm right about this, Okafor, I guess, did as a freshman. I guess he led Duke national championship, but Carmelo Anthony did. It's just hard, man. There's a process.
Have you seen the Boozer kid? Carlos Boozer's
I heard he's
kid?
really good. I heard he's really good.
I had no idea who he was. First time I watched him, I was like, who in the hell is that guy? Like, he did everything right.
Doesn't he have twins?
And he made, yeah. The other one's not so good. Was it Cameron? Like, caught on the block. Guy's got good position. He kind of spun, dribbled, and hit a sort of a Nowitzki fade as a high school junior. And like,
how big is he?
That's a great question. 6'8". He was.
I'm sure he's built.
Ooh. Okay, he did that. He did that once. Let's see. Like, you want him to do it again. Anybody can hit one.
Right.
And then he hit another. And I was like, holy crap, he's a big-bodied guy. And, I thought he was the real deal. He played last night in that game.
Hey, don't forget, today's dentistry, Dr. Mike O'Neill, just add water boats. Look at those teeth. Look at those
It's
chompers.
unbelievable.
Oh, me too, look. Huh?
I chew like a champ.
Yeah. You got bad knee, bad hip, bad elbow? Go see my guys at QC Kinetics, 559 Pain. Also, Affinity Whole Health. Hey, look, I take a testosterone shot, and I got to tell you, pretty good for Lee, too.
No complaints.
No complaints. And if you're boozing this weekend, go see our guys at Moondrops Distillery.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's pretty good. It's pretty good stuff. We got to do a show from there. It's a fun place.
Let's go. All right.
See you guys.
Thursday, probably.
Got to do it Thursday.
Right.
See you.